Hi there, students. Factor. A factor. A factor is an element, a component that goes to give a result or another situation. So a factor is something, one of the things that affect the final result of something. So yes, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is a factor in global warming. It's one of the elements that is going towards making the planet warmer. If you're going for an interview, the interviewer will take into account various factors: your experience, your character, your training, your schooling, your education, and probably other things that they shouldn't take into account. These are all factors that will influence whether you are accepted for the job or not. Notice we also use the word factor in mathematics. A factor is a number. When you multiply it by another number, you get the number you're looking for. Let's see, easier to explain. The number 24, the factors are 2 and 12, 3, 6 and 1. Okay, these are the numbers that 24 is divisible by. Notice you could increase something by a factor of 10 or decrease it by a factor of 2, for example. So here we're using multiplied by, divided by. It's a number something is multiplied by. So by relaxing when you speak English, you will improve your English by a factor of 2. It's true, eh? You need to be able to relax. We also use this word factor in business. You can factor your invoices. You can factor your receipts. So, for example, I've sold this, this and this that come to £1,000. A factor is a person who will buy those receipts even though they haven't been paid yet, and he will decrease the amount that he gives me by a factor, the risk factor. Okay, so maybe he gives me £900, and that is to factor, factoring. This is something companies do quite often. It's a way to maintain liquidity. To factor can also be used in banking, and these are loans that the bank gives, which are secured by sales made, by invoices that haven't been paid yet. Maybe when you go to the beach and you have some suntan lotion, it will say factor 20, sunscreen factor 20. Okay, so here a factor is a level on a scale of measurement. Factor 1 being the lowest and factor, 300 being the highest. Okay. Going back to business for a second, a factor can also be a person who buys and sells on commission. So if he sells your goods, you give him a percentage of the sale. So what about origin? Okay, this comes from Latin, from facere or facere, meaning to do. So, done. And maybe the word benefactor is linked to this word factor. A factor in the benefit or the good things that happen to a person. Notice factor is a neutral formality word. It's flexible. You can use it in an informal conversation. You can use it in a formal document. There's no problem. So let's see. A factor, an element, one of the things that goes to give a result or goes to make a situation. So when there is a general election and people vote for the government, maybe the weather is a factor. Maybe old people vote for this party, and if it's raining they don't want to go out. So the weather is a factor. Okay, an element, something that contributes to the result actively. Okay, a factor as in numbers. The factors of 8 are 1, 2 and 8. Okay? To factor an invoice, to sell an unpaid invoice and get money for the invoice even though it hasn't been paid, but obviously less because the person who buys it has factored in the risk. I ought to look at factor in for a second, but I've made several videos about factor in. To factor in means to take account of. So my journey to the company normally takes half an hour, but today I'm going to have to factor in the traffic because it's rush hour. Take account of. Yeah, to factor in, to factor into. Okay, let's see. To increase by a factor, to decrease by a factor, to multiply or divide by. Your sunscreen level factor 10, the level on a scale. And finally, somebody who buys and sells on commission, a factor. So there you go, factor. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Factor.